Welcome to a new episode, and we are jumping right into the topic, which is courage and capacity. Okay, because sometimes I believe we can have the courage for something, however, not have the capacity, and that's another story altogether, and it's another aspect of our lives that we get to take a deep dive in, right? Because many times we are courageous and adventurous and we're getting things done and we are seeking to be excelled in an area, but we haven't taken out the time to build capacity to not only create, bring in, and also maintain our desires. Now, what that looks like is I'm going to give you an example because we're talking about motherhood. And when you think about motherhood, I think about our little one that's 4 months, right? What we learned along the way is her capacity for certain things. For instance, like if she's hungry, you want to feed a little one off bat. That's what you do. You feed your child. Sometimes you can get away with getting a couple things done in the process before feeding. So I say that to say one time we wanted to get her dressed before we fed her because sometimes after we feed her, burp her, she's falling asleep. So we wanted to have her night clothes on already. Okay, got it. She has the capacity for that. Another time, we're like, oh yeah, we got to get her dressed before she gets ready for bed. But this particular day, she missed a nap. So she was extra sleepy and extra cranky. So we tried to do the same thing, which is get her dressed. She did not have the capacity that day because not only did she have to go through or endure getting dressed while hungry, somehow she was like, I'm not going to endure getting dressed and being super sleepy and all this at one time. Choose which one you gonna do. And so because by the time we almost finished, her feelings were hurt. Like she was completely upset. Like her upset was upset to where my feelings were hurt because she was crying. I mean, tears were coming at this point because she was hungry and she just wanted to be fed. Did nothing wrong. But guess what? Mommy and daddy were able to understand her capacity and what she can make it through. And that's the same thing for our lives. Sometimes we are desiring, because this is like the 40 plus and going into motherhood for the first time, there are a lot of things because we're set in our lives, right? We've gotten our groove, and now when we have a child over 40, it's like a reset in a lot of areas, and we have to build the capacity for more patience because we can't get up and go. We've been getting up and going for 40 plus years. And now when it's time to get up and go, it's like, does baby want to go right now? Like it's a whole situation. And so what we have to do is be content in the state that we're in and also admit if there are challenges that are beyond you. And as we're learning during this process, it's like things I didn't know before becoming a mother. And I never forget growing up, my mother would always say, you'll understand when you're a mom, or you won't get this because you're not a mom. So it's just like, because I won't get it until I'm a mom, don't have that expectation of me. And then the other part is now that I'm a mom, I get certain things, right? And it has been such a journey just learning. And we're embracing and enjoying it. And one thing that I absolutely love about this journey is I get to experience it alongside my husband because his place of employment allows for 4 months of paternity leave. Come on now. So it's like our beginning stages of parenthood. It's beautiful. It's filled with teamwork. It's filled with learning together. It's filled with with its challenges. But how many of you know that when you go through a challenge, it's nothing like having your spouse there to kind of help calibrate those challenges, to take on the load of some of those things. And also the fun parts, the creative parts. We crack up, like we're literally ready to go to bed, and then our daughter will start making spit bubbles like it is 12 p.m. instead of 12 a.m. I'm like, ma'am, this is not the time to play. It's the time to go to sleep. And so we sometimes are so exhausted that it's hilarious at this point because we just go with the flow. One another time it was bedtime. My husband had to go to work this particular next morning. She was up in the early parts of the morning, yum, 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 just going, having her whole conversation. And so I recorded it and I sent it to my husband and I was like, this is from Victoria, so you can start your day. She's saying hi, daddy. So it's just fun things that we've been able to incorporate in our lives because we've built the capacity for parenthood. And so I will encourage you that if you are a person that's a stickler, don't like interruptions and this, that, and the other, do and get into things that interrupt your normal, that may seem even inconveniencing to you, so that you can build the capacity for what you're desiring. And one thing I appreciate is that we don't have to rush our daughter's growth. We don't have to hurdle her out the door because we have 12 million things to do. We're literally paced in our lives so that she can develop, you understand, in a manner that is nurturing for her development. And that's an intentional journey. Capacity is intentional. Building capacity is intentional. And so we want to make sure that we have that together, because if we're courageous and don't have the capacity, we're going to get crushed. You understand what I'm saying? Under the pressure of what we're going into, and we're going to, or even mishandle what we are going into. So we have to be careful that we are intentional about capacity. Now, here's some ways to build capacity on your journey. One is to be real with yourself. Know where you are in your life. Know what's going on. Know where you're overstretched. Know what your weaknesses are. And I always, once we figure out those things with honesty and transparency, now we can put in things in place to correct those things. And when I say correct those things and improve those things, if there's something like, say for instance, you're not good with time management, it's time to activate a calendar. Put alerts in your phone to remind you, and reminders of everything. I literally book appointments for myself on my business calendar simply because I have to find time for myself. I can go out and fulfill contracts. I can go out, do things with clients. But when it's time for me to do something, it's like I can't find time. So I book time into my calendar so that I know during that time I need to fulfill what is important to Michelle. That's a way to start building that capacity, because the routine begins to increase. The routine begins to become consistent. And then when we have another, for instance, we have to embrace when things change, like be nimble in the process. When I say that, to say, it was one night I was preparing our daughter because we were leaving out as a family to go to an event. In the midst of getting her ready, she fell asleep. She was like, no, ma'am, I'm sleepy. And so what we ended up doing, we decided that one of us would stay home so that she can get rest because she was tired, and we were not going to push her and make her, go into an environment which would have made her more cranky and crankier and all this kind of stuff. We didn't want that. So we worked together as a team. We weren't upset that one of us couldn't go. We have the capacity to understand she will have needs at times, and as adults we will pivot. We are okay with pivoting. We are okay with changing our plans so that we can accommodate. Remember, we're creating that environment for her to develop in a healthy manner. And because I think another thing that helps us as two individuals being pretty balanced, we don't have these overwhelming needs to where it overrides what she has going on in this season. So I think it's all a part when it comes to capacity is understanding your season. And a lot of you that are watching today are desiring a season of motherhood and you're over 40. A lot of you are desiring even seasons of marriage and you're over 40. So in those seasons, embracing where you are and then preparing for where you desire to go. So today's encouragement was all about courage. Oh, today's episode. I think I said today's courage. Today's episode is all about courage and capacity. They go hand in hand because we want to make sure when we get to that season, for those that are still desiring motherhood, that we have the capacity to embrace and thrive in that season. We did another episode about the soft life, and it's so important to have our ducks in a row. I don't know how many of you remember back in the day, the seniors would be like, you got your ducks in a row, everything together, because that helps us in our journey to really embrace where we're going. It helps us to easily merge something else in without getting frazzled along the way. And this is an encouragement that you can build capacity, you can fulfill your dreams, you can move into that next season and not be afraid of the season too, because some things you won't know. So part of building capacity is building I want to almost say a fearlessness, because sometimes some people can get stuck in fearful about what if I mess up, or what if I don't get it right, or what if things don't go the way that it's planned. And some have that, what you say, fear of success. What if you are successful in within your marriage and you make it to that next season to where you are a mother? Are you afraid and fearful of things in that season of your life, and being okay entering into the unknown, knowing that you've prepared yourself for it? And I never forget, one of my mentors said years ago, is one of the things that causes that fear is lack of preparation. And when I say lack of preparation, is not knowing what's going on and not preparing for that. And I'm going to tell you, my mentor said it a little harshly, during that time, and it was flat out ignorance. Ignorance causes fear. And so when we don't navigate those areas, if we're not taking those classes, if we're not talking with our spouse, if we're not aligning our lives to welcome in another life that we're going to nurture and prepare and help mature, there's some problems that come in there, and it can create fears of that nature. So we want to make sure that we prepare as much as we can. And another thing I will add to this that we were able to do is we watch classes online in order to see what our experience could look like. Everyone's experience is not the same, but doing research on what to give our child, how she will develop, the development stages, food stages, community around her, all those things were things that we looked into on our journey of preparation. And as it started unfolding, I think the most difficult thing that we ran into on our journey was just exhaustion in the beginning. Like, our little one was a handful in the beginning when it came to figuring out, I think it was her comfort more so than anything, because she would go to sleep, but she had her preferences of where and when she went to sleep, but now she's sleeping through the night. She's living her best life right now. And we're living our best life because we can get a full night of rest at this stage. And so we're not waking up trying to figure life out because we only had a couple hours. So this is really good. But remember, on your journey of being 40 plus, be encouraged, stay encouraged, prepare for your journey, make room for your journey, build capacity on your journey, and then watch everything unfold from there. So this is our segment for today, which is courage and capacity. Thank you so much for joining our episode. Remember that in the description, you're going to have all the fun stuff that I'll talk about. And one of the things I make sure that I remember to show is my pregnancy journey, beautiful week by week journal. This journal is for every week of pregnancy. There's a letter from me for every trimester, and there are fun activities to do in here and also fun facts about each trimester. So this is a loving journal that helps you to journal your way through your pregnancy, and also things that you may not know, like the fun facts for each trimester, a dream log, and activities, because leisure time is important during that time. And I also share the personal strategy series that I have. There's a 5-day challenge that's at the end of August. And then there is a mastermind right after that. So if you're looking to get your life congruent in every areas, like a spiritual foundation, wholeness, getting a foundation in that area. If you're looking for your relationships, getting a foundation in those areas, as well as your finances, building a foundation in those areas, you want to be in the 5-day personal strategy challenge. It will literally challenge you to level up in your life in such a way where you'll come out on the other end with more clarity. You'll come back with a sense of contentment to where when you're waking up, you're ready to embrace that day because you have everything in alignment. And even when things don't go like we want them to, alignment helps us to continue forward. It's okay to have a day where you're like, I'm over it, but let it only be a moment of I'm over it, because your plan, your purpose, and what you have aligned in your life keeps you moving forward. So that's what that 5-day challenge is about. So the details of that is in the description. So if there are topics that you would like to talk about as a 40 plus first time mom, let me know. If there are things that you want expanded on that I've already spoken about, let me know. In the future, it's something I wanted to do, an episode on what I didn't know until I became a first time mom, because we get some surprises in here. And I was like, oh my goodness, I never knew that. And so we'll talk about those never knew things also along the way. So thank you for joining this episode. I will see you next week on 40 plus first time mom. Take care. Bye-bye.